Hello and welcome to the Move Well, Live Well podcast.
We are your hosts, Antonio Capasso and Dave Fell. The aim of this podcast is to motivate, inspire, and educate the masses, giving practical tips and golden nuggets on how to get moving and live a healthy and fulfilled life.
This podcast is for anybody who's wanting to exercise but struggles to get started or to make it stick. It's for anybody who's chasing goals but never seems to feel satisfied, or simply anyone who wants to live a healthier and happier life.
As a licensed sport and exercise psychologist, I use my knowledge of human behaviour and psychological theory to help both everyday people and Olympic level athletes achieve their performance and lifestyle goals.
I'm an online coach and I've built a platform through providing healthy and budget recipes and practical exercise tips to as many people as I can. I'm not the biggest, leanest, strongest or fittest coach, but I do pride myself in being the most well balanced. We want you to take away so many golden nuggets from this podcast that you'll have to eat them with milk.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Move Well, Live Well podcast. We're now on to episode 9, which was crazy to say. Been flying through these and we've got potentially one of our best episodes coming up, I think, personally, which is all about our toolkit for success. So these are the tips that actually work, okay? If you want to feel better, move better, live better, you don't need to have an overhaul. And hopefully through these episodes we've shown you this, you don't need to have an overhaul, okay? You just need a toolkit. So.
Absolutely. And this episode is exactly what this podcast is about, giving you guys as many golden nuggets as you can. So in this episode, you are going to get so many tools, so many tips to help you move forward across all aspects of health and life. And yeah, we hope you enjoy it. They're going to be coming thick and fast. So get a notepad, get a pen if you need to, because there's going to be so many gold nuggets for you to take away from this episode. And yeah, we're going to be coming straight away.
Yeah. I mean, just for a little bit of a reference, I've got down on our little notes that we'll be glancing at here and there because we haven't got, these crazy minds, right? But you'll catch us glancing because we've got 20 tips coming at you, hopefully within 30 minutes. So let's see how good we are and how well we can stick to it.
We run over every single episode. So we'll get straight into it.
All right. Yeah. So the first one, almost most basic one, bread and butter, links back to our previous episode when we're starting to speak about sleep and circadian rhythms and, just getting into routines, is morning sunlight, right? Waking up, okay, and making sure you get in a little bit of sunlight because unfortunately we're not that much better than plants, all right? We need a little bit of sun, get our serotonin in, okay, get us feeling fresh, awake, but also it signifies to our body and to our mind we're starting a new day, we need to get up, need to get moving. And that can be something as simple as maybe going for a little walk, maybe walking to making sure that you walk instead of perhaps getting like driving in the car or going straight onto the underground. Okay, just open the curtains, even simpler, right? As soon as you get up, swish those curtains open, okay, and just that signifies to yourself that you're starting the day, new day, you're going to feel better rather than staying in the dark, moping around the house feeling like it could still be 10 o'clock at night.
Absolutely, great one there. And again, best case, it could be getting out for a walk, run, whatever it is. But even just as a minimum requirement is just opening the curtains, even if you go back to bed, just so you're getting some natural sunlight in. That will just help, as I say, activate your circadian rhythm and getting you started for the day there. On the flip side, looking at how we then, manage our sleep routine. So we mentioned it on the last podcast episode, but super important to make sure that we are having as a consistent routine in terms of our sleep as possible throughout the week. And that looks like going to bed and waking up at a similar time every day. And yes, that includes weekends, having some kind of nighttime routine where it could be, brushing your teeth, doing your face wash, whatever it is, maybe doing a bit of stretching, could even be doing some breathing and some journaling work. Screens down 1 hour, hopefully before bed, and then just having this consistent routine. We're not going to tell you exactly what you need to be doing, but we are telling you or recommending to you that you do need to have some kind of process that will help you fall asleep at night.
Yeah, great. Sleep, one of the most important things, and it's one of the first things to go. So it's that first thing to look at as well if you are feeling fatigued, etc. Next one, we've got protein in every meal, protein with every meal. Now, I'm no nutritionist, but we all know the very basics when it comes down to nutrition. We know that actually if you are wanting to exercise, you're wanting to move, but you're wanting to make sure that you can recover, and not just recover, making sure that you can actually grow, become stronger, feel better in yourselves. It's bread and butter. You need to be making sure you're getting that protein into your diet. And I always think the goal is to try and hit minimum 20 grams of protein in every meal. Okay, simple way. Getting it into the system, okay, that stacks up very quickly throughout the day, and you're going to feel much better from it. We know, as I said, muscles will recover way better, but also it also means that your muscles are going to grow and repair better. So you're actually, making a real simple decision in saying that I'm going to look after my body each meal I have.
100%. So again, it's how do you base your meal then around that protein? As I said, 20 grams is an absolute minimum. Chronically, a lot of my clients are under eating on protein, so it's super important that we're getting that with every single meal. So you're not just having cheese on toast or whatever it is. We're actually bulking, and ultimately it's going to keep you full, which is going to reduce your cravings, less prone to snacking and giving into those late night binges. Okay, and in terms of how this will actually, or how this might actually look, and something that I recommend for my clients, something as simple as the 1-2-3 method. And what that means is we are getting one portion of protein with every single meal. As I said, minimum 20 grams, but hopefully between 30 and 40 grams. So that could be 150 grams of chicken breast, 100 to 125 grams of lean beef. It could be tofu, it could be eggs, whatever it is. Okay, so basing that round in your meals, one portion of that. One portion of carbohydrates with every meal. So that could be your rice, your bread, your pasta, anything that's like that in terms of your carbohydrates. So one portion of carbohydrates, one portion of protein, and then a third thing of the 1-2-3 method is one or more fruits or vegetables. And again, so you imagine 1-2-3 carbohydrates, protein, fruits and vegetables. With your fruits and veggies, bulk it out. You can typically have as much as you like because they are super high in volume, super low in calories. So you'll probably feel full before you actually, eat any real amount of calories in those foods, but super important for your micronutrients and getting your vitamins and minerals as well. So 1-2-3 carbohydrates, protein, fruits and vegetables. But also it's important to remember as well, we don't need to cut out any food groups like fats or anything like that, making sure that we're getting plenty of fiber in as well. But just think in terms of how you structure your meal, that's what we want you to be looking at.
Yeah, nice. I really like that. It reminded me of I used to work on a program called Healthy Schools a couple of years ago, and one of the things they said there was like, unlike the Skittles advert, taste rainbow, is eat the rainbow, right? So if you have a colourful plate, you're most likely going to be getting in that nutrition that you need. So yeah, I really liked that 1-2-3 method, and then also make sure you're having a nice colourful plate. Next one is the liquid calories audit. Now, this is something that I have known about for a few years because I was probably doing the opposite to what most people were looking to do, in that I was trying to gain weight. So I ended up taking these like mass gainer shakes because I knew I could get calories in through just drinking, not through having to eat. But it's also something to be really mindful of when you're looking at, well, why do I still feel like I'm like, gaining weight even though I've not eaten that much in the day, etc. It's actually reminding ourselves that, well, a lot of drinks you have, especially those sugary drinks, they're going to contain some calories, which means that you're going to be increasing that intake, which adds up throughout the day. You think you have 2-3 bottles that have got, let's say 150 calories in them. That slowly stacks up. So like you're going to slowly be hitting close to that 500 calorie marker, which is nearly a full meal, right?
Absolutely. And again, as Tony mentioned, it can work in both ways. If you're trying to lose weight and you are really struggling, it's important to make sure that you're not having those hidden calories in any of your liquids, and that includes olive oil as well. And then on the flip side, if you are trying to gain weight or fuel performance, then you can actually use liquid calories to your advantage. So wherever you are in your goal, it's important to recognize that you're having, and obviously alcohol, yes, it does have calories in, so we need to be aware of that as well. Okay, next thing. So when we are talking about nutrition, and particularly for those who are dieting, it's important to consider that we're actually thinking about what we can add instead of what we can restrict. So as I mentioned before, fruits, veggies, that kind of stuff, that will have a huge impact in terms of your satiety, in terms of your overall health, because these foods typically very high in volume for the amount of calories you're getting. So it's always, before we are thinking about what we need to take away, it's like, okay, well, what can we actually add in? And that could be, if you're having overnight oats, you've got oats protein, but also making sure that we can bulk it out. So it could be strawberries. You might even add in chia seeds or something like that. So what can we add into that meal to make it more balanced, more well-rounded? And, instead of thinking in the immediate short term about, okay, this meal only has 200 calories. Well, actually, if that makes you feel really hungry later on in the day, then actually potentially that's having a negative overall impact from there. Okay. Also, in line with that, thinking about how we can batch cook our meals for the week. So that could be even just a little bit of planning ahead, and it could be just as simple as prepping your protein, putting together like a tuna mayo bowl that you can stick in the fridge and have it throughout the week. And that's something that I often get my clients to think about. If you can't do a full week's worth of prep, what can you do as a bare minimum to then maybe cook some chicken breast or have a bit of tuna on standby, so when you then have those meals, or when you are, you get in late from work or the gym or whatever it is late at night, you don't have this decision fatigue because you've got something already prepped, at least in the simplest fashion you can, and then you can have that. And also as well, something that I always have on hand is one default meal. So I will have frozen veggies, I'll have a tin of tuna, and I'll have wraps always in my cupboard. And it sounds, very, very basic. That's because it is. Because if I don't have anything, instead of it reaching for the Uber Eats app or whatever it is, then I can just have tuna, bit of veggies in a wrap. Not the best meal, not obviously the most nutritious, but again, thinking about the 1, 2, 3, I'm still getting my carbs, I'm still getting fruits and veggies, and I'm still getting a source of protein in. And again, just having that on standby can massively have a compound impact over the year, because you're obviously less takeaways, saving money, saving calories, all the rest of it.
Amazing, class. Yeah, batch cooking, definitely my biggest weakness. I need to get way more on top of that. Next one that we've got is starting to move a little bit away from nutrition, starting to tap into the mindset side of things. Is a few episodes ago we mentioned choice point. So choice point is recognizing when in your week are you having these situations where you're having to make a choice between making those decisions that go towards that purposeful life. Perhaps it's exercising more, perhaps it's just making sure you walk to work, etc., or it's just getting out of bed. Or when are you choosing to move away from that person and away from those exercise goals that you said you wanted to achieve? So those choice point method is really useful for actually being able to take that step back. Situations have arisen, thoughts, feelings, and emotions have come up. How do I actually want to live my life? Do I want to move towards this person I want to be, or am I going to move away from it? When do these choice points show up? Is it after work? Is it when you're waking up in the morning? Is it on your lunch break? When we're talking about nutrition, is it that snack that you're going to have after having that like dinner? Start thinking about these, start factoring them in, and then deciding how you want to tackle them. Next one is, and it links to that choice point, is learning to diffuse. Okay, so we did the exercise before, mentioned it in the last episode because it is so useful. Being able to take that step back from your thoughts. Okay, we call it diffusing. When you're fused, you're looking at the thought, you're in the thought. So I want to do this, I want to do that, I feel this. Taking a step back and saying, I'm having the thought that I want to do this. It then gives you the choice in how you would like to respond. But equally, it makes you a little bit more solution focused. So by turning around and saying, oh, I'm so tired, that feels very real, feels factual, feels like a statement, and I'm sure you are. But by taking that step back and saying, oh, actually, I'm having the feeling that I am so tired. Well, why has that happened? Okay, well, it's because I keep going to bed late at night, or I keep on doing, this activity that keeps on taking me away from getting the sleep I need, or I'm looking at my phone before going to bed. That's actually the barrier. So how can I change that? By changing it and shifting to being solution focused, right? We can now actually start fixing this potential barrier that we keep thinking is like rigid, but actually, there are things you can do about it.
100%, and definitely since we started the podcast, Tony, I've been using that, so thank you. That's
good,
really good tip for me. Okay, moving on. Next one, we're on to habit stacking. So when you think about the day, and for anybody who's not read the book Atomic Habits, this is a fantastic tool that I think we both use from there.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do things such every day, such as simple as like brushing our teeth, it's okay, what habits can we stack onto that? Because something that we're doing anyway throughout the day, it's okay, what can we tag onto that? Something that we want to implement in our lives, something that we want to improve on. So it could be when you boil the kettle to have a cup of tea, it could be doing 10 air squats, or go into doing some extra steps, or when you go to the toilet at work, you're then going on a different floor, so you again increasing the amount of steps that you get. sounds very, very small at the time, but ultimately these have a huge compound interest when we zoom out and look at our journey, not just in the day or the week, but actually the months and the years, because that's ultimately, in terms of our journey, where we are, because it should be seen as a lifelong thing, not a short-term diet or whatever it is, but actually, we are now this person that does these kind of things. So have a think about, is there anything that you want to get better at? That could be going to the gym after work. So what are you doing in terms of your prep for work, as well as prepping meals? That could also be prepping your gym kit, getting that laid out before you then leave the door. So when you come in, you look at it, you get changed as soon as you get in straight away, and then you're going to be infinitely more times likely to go to the gym.
Yeah, fantastic. And that moves us really nicely onto this next point, which is, I've lost my points. Here we go. Minimum effective dose mindset. Okay, so thinking about that habit stacking, actually, if you're having one of those weeks or one of those days where unfortunately you just can't prioritize your movement, or I'm going to relate it to movement or exercise, as much as you would like to,
it's always going to happen.
Always going to happen. You can't avoid it, unfortunately. Like, life does get in the way. We're not, and even with elite athletes, life does get in the way. Okay, so what is the minimum thing that you can do that day or in the week that makes sure that you're still getting some form of dosage? Right, and when I'm talking about dosage, you're going to get some form of exercise or some form of something that's going to have a positive impact on your overall well-being. And again, I really like the idea of habit stacking. So it's that way of, actually, could I just put in that 10-minute, 20-minute walk at lunch? Like, when one of my old jobs, there was a stadium right nearby, not giving anything away too much, and you could literally just go for like a couple of laps around the stadium, then pop back into the office. Fantastic way of just getting some steps in, getting some sunlight, okay, getting out of that environment, making you relax. So here I'm benefiting like from 3 or 4 different things. Also, tie that into, you can call someone or having a catch up with someone, right? Minimum effective dose, but you're going to feel so much better from it. And it also just means that later on in that day, you're not going to feel like you've lost it all. And again, we're moving away from that all or nothing mindset, okay? Things are going to happen. You can't do it all the time. So actually, what's the smallest thing you can do, rather than just giving up, saying, well, this week's gone, I need to start again next week? That's not going to help. So really powerful one, and one to really think about and start adding into your day, and perhaps looping it into that habit stacking.
Want to become a stronger, better and faster runner? You don't need another cookie cutter program, you need a coach. Cooper is a coach in your pocket, and they provide real structure, real expertise and real accountability. And because you're a Move Well, Live Well listener, you'll get an extended 2-week free trial when you sign up and use the code MOVEWELL on the app. Cooper, not a plan, a coach. Absolutely. Really, really great stuff. And yeah, so it's such an important frame of mind, because there are going to be days, as Tony said, that we can't do everything, but if there is something that we can do, 10-minute walk, getting protein with every meal, having 3 liters of water, these are all the minimum effective dose for just getting those healthy habits, and then that will kick on momentum for the next day when you can get everything back on track. Okay, so the next thing is tracking our effort and ultimately not aiming for perfection. And again, this comes down to one thing that I always ask my clients to consider is, when it comes to workouts in this context, is sticking to the rule of 5. So 1 workout is going to be absolutely amazing. You're going to get 3 that are kind of like all right and kind of your average, and 1 that is going to be bad. You're going to go in, you're going to feel weak, you're not going to feel up to the session. And that is just kind of a mindset shift that you can frame and be like, okay, so if you can take that kind of similar concept and apply it across everything else. So on some days you are going to turn up and, lifting what you did last week, or, just trying to manage through the day. If it feels very, very different, you're kind of going off your effort. So some days it's going to feel effortless and everything's going to be clicking. It's going to be amazing, and you're going to be performing at your top performance. I notice that obviously those days are great, but on the flip side, there's going to be days where you come in, everything feels really difficult, you're not performing your best. So, kind of what I'm trying to say, adapt your effort to that. Don't feel like you have to fight an uphill battle, but kind of go with the flow in that, and understand that some days are going to be better than others, and it's not you, it's just human behavior.
Yeah, I love it. And I always think about the 1% rule, right? If I just turn up, and often hardest battle for me is just getting either to wherever I'm going to exercise, could be getting to actually go and play, like getting myself there to go and play football, getting myself down to the track, getting myself into the gym, whatever it is. I know once I'm there, even if I'm not having like the hardest session ever, I'm going to be 1% better off than I was before doing the activity in the first place. And I know myself, like I have so many sessions. I literally had it last week where I went to the gym, did the classic bro split. So I did what was it, chest, shoulders, arms, and I just felt awful. Like my bench press was just really weak that day. Went and did it yesterday, and suddenly my bench press felt fantastic. So it's just that day where clearly something was going on in the week, which meant I didn't feel as good as I normally would, but I still went, still did it, still stay consistent, and I can guarantee I still got the benefits from it. So sorry for encroaching on that tip, but it's just a really useful one. The next one we've got is the 2-minute pause rule. Again, classic psychologist, pause, take time to think, reflect, decide on how you'd like to move forward before reacting. The 2-minute pause is just fantastic, and it's something to really start implementing to life for loads of different things. I find that I often use that pause rule when it comes to reacting to someone who might have pissed me off a little bit, right? But utilize it and just put it into that pause rule. Oh, I want to eat this, or I want to go and do this session, when actually really you should probably be doing your rehab session, right? So 2 minutes. Think about it, reflect on it. Is that urge or is that desire still there? Or by just taking a step back, thinking about it, has that now reduced and suddenly it's not as, I was going to say overwhelming, not overwhelming, it's not as sort of motivating.
That's it. And I mean, we're all human beings, we are emotional creatures, but sometimes it's just taking that 2 minutes out to not react emotionally in the actual thing, try and see it from the other person's perspective, and then kind of grounding that in logical thinking and be okay, so maybe they were thinking this way, that's why they reacted this way to me.
Yeah.
And then you can ultimately, you're only going to benefit from that just by having a bit more of a conscious thought about how you react.
Yeah, and then just on that, sorry to encourage again, with
never
knew we're going to end up going over, but because it just really reminded me of that whole remembering that actually the first responder in anything we deal with is going to be the chimp, and by the chimp I mean our fight, flight, freeze, or our emotional response. We are emotional beings, as you said, which means that our emotions are going to respond first before logic. So having that 2-minute pause allows the human, empathetic, logical part of our brain to catch up and then decide how we want to deal with that situation.
100%. Bosh. Okay, next one. Movement as medicine. And again, something that I've always used. And when I was working in the corporate job, feeling unbelievably stressed, something that I always did, I made sure that I had time to do, even on days where I was getting absolutely hammered, even just getting out for a walk. As we mentioned, what's the minimum dose? 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Just using that to really kind of medicate my mind, but also my body as well. And obviously, in terms of what we mentioned, in terms of managing our physical and mental health, exercise, using that as a precursor for being able to manage that. Do not underestimate the power of it.
Yeah. Fantastic, and it relates back to that idea of the benefits that we spoke about from in that first episode around what exercise provides you. It's not just the physical; it's that mental side of it, which is so good. Next one: reframe setbacks as data. Now, of course, as I always say with reframing and try not to tap into toxic positivity, allow yourself to experience the emotion. We're emotional beings, okay? But then use it as data, that growth mindset, right? We learn from every single situation we put ourselves in, okay? Take on board that data, take on board that feedback. If it was really crap, if it was rubbish, well, at least you've still learned from it. You've come out of that situation better than you were before you went, or not even better, but more knowledgeable than you were before you went into it. How can you use that, learn from it to help yourself develop, grow, so that actually, if you do cross that situation again, you can come up from a more experienced lens, and equally, perhaps you've learned maybe you don't want to put yourself in that situation at all in the first place. Fantastic. It might feel like a failure, it might feel like a real bad setback, but actually later on down the line again, when we can zoom out, look at the bigger picture, down the line, you've grown from it, you learned from it, which means you're not going to make that same mistake again. Or if you've made that same mistake again, what is that now telling me? So reframing setbacks as data, really good way of doing it. But obviously it's taking into account that we aren't robotic. We can have the emotion first, and then let's look at what we can learn.
100%. You're either winning or you're learning. Okay, next one, the 1 minute rule. So if a task, and obviously this is a really useful tool for helping keep our mind clutter free. If a task takes less than 1 minute, just do it. Just don't even think about, just do it in the exact moment that you think about it, and something that can help get that kickstart energy. is count down from 3, 2, 1. So if it's a task, takes less than a minute to do it, just go 3, 2, 1, go and do it. And it sounds very simple, but for a lot of you out there, just that little reminder that you might be needing to hear today, this is your sign to go do it.
Awesome, short, sharp and sweet, that one. Next one, environment design. Keep healthy habits visible, temptations invisible. This goes back to our, what we'd coin that episode? Primary environment. Primary environment, right? The things that help you, that are going to help you move towards your goal, keep them visible, right? Keep them in your eye line. The things that don't help you, keep them away. If it is the biscuits, if it is the TV remote because you're going to end up sitting down on the sofa, keep it away, keep it out the way. Equally, my thing is always like, I know that if I come back from a busy day and I sit down, I'm not going to get up again. So again, it's just keeping that idea, like keeping my sports like kit bag by the door so that actually I'm straight back out again. Yes, it might be a bit chaotic, quite busy, but actually if I have to come in, if I have to go find my shorts, find this, find that, get something, find something to eat, if I have that already prepped for me, I'm doing it, I'm back out the door again. It doesn't give me the opportunity to actually, start having the gremlins creep in, that idea of, don't worry, don't think about it, priming that environment makes it so much easier. Just like Dave always gives the example of moving the phone to the other side of the room, that's a prime of the environment. Having your bag ready the night before, that's priming your environment, right? These are all those small things you can do, have a big impact on your ability to actually go out and execute something that you just said you were going to do.
Exactly. And humans were creatures of the path of least resistance. So you want to try and make your environment as frictionless as you can for doing the tasks that you want. In relation to that, also making sure that you have a good digital environment. So obviously we're all consuming social media across all the pages. So if there's any account that's draining you, if you are following this celebrity that you look at and you feel envious of or whatever it is, everybody says to not compare yourself to them. But if you are constantly kind of having them pop up on your feed every day, they are not providing any value or making you even feel good, then, it's probably time to unfollow that person. Follow some positive role models like me, like Tony, listen to this podcast, all that kind of good stuff. Little plug there, absolutely shameless. Don't mind, come at me. But yeah, so hopefully, just prime your environment digitally as well, making sure that you're consuming good content. And again, making sure that you are seeing what you want to see, because if account's draining you, if you are always watching the news, getting that constant kind of negative feed into you, that's only going to have a negative impact. So making sure that you're priming not only your physical environment, but also your digital environment as well.
Yeah, another shameless plug coming up here as well, just on that digital one, is utilizing those online coaching apps such as Cooper, that are going to be able to give you that notification saying, here, you said you're going to do this workout today. It's reminding you to go and do it. It's just simple ways, right? Like we used to say, like we said, like setting up reminders on your phone. It's literally one of the simplest ways of doing it, right? That's why you have, that's why people invest in these online coaching, right? To support them, to help keep them accountable. Moving on, we have got, moving away from the digital world to the real life social world, community belonging, right? If you're someone that says you want to be this type of person, go out and find these type of people, right? Of course, we're going to speak about Fell Fitness community because that's one of the prime reasons as to why you created it. Not only to hopefully as well help people build up social connection, also TWP. For me, it was a massive thing, like moving to London, finding a fitness community, finding like-minded people. Yes, I want to go out, have drinks, have parties, go to concerts, etc., and live up that side of life. But also finding people that want to go out on a run, that want to go to the gym, that are people that are going to almost in the right way normalize tying fitness into your life on the regular. So it makes me think, oh god, yeah, like they're doing it, I want to make sure I go and do it, right? Now I try and keep it healthy, try not to get comparison going, getting competitive, and suddenly you're overtraining, burnout's coming in. But environment, you are you are the product of the 5 closest people around you, and it is so true. So make sure you take that into account. Go and find that community, or go and find those people, even if it's just as simple as just you see someone in the gym, you like what they've been doing, that maybe you relate to them in some weird way. Go up and say hi, right? Who knows, you could go and do a session together once a week. Suddenly accountability's gone up, suddenly you're more likely to actually stick to your goal, etc.
100%. And if you're in the UK, probably anywhere around Europe or the Western world, you're always going to be able to find people to go out drinking with you, but you might necessarily not be able to, in the immediate, without doing a bit of looking, bit of research, find those people that are aligned to your hobbies. But it's so important because, as you said, you know, finding people that have the same interests, and whether that's sports, whether it's running, whether it's whatever it is, or even chess, anything like that, just find your people, because that community belonging is going to be so important for your overall health. And finally, of our last quick fire tips, we've just got, you know, give in before you get. And it's kind of this, you know, people often go into relationships thinking, okay, what can I get out of this? But actually, you know, just give in the best way you can, even if it's just to get a smile out of someone or just to make someone's day. And it's kind of this like this karmic thing of like what goes around comes around, but don't do things for any expectation. Just do it to improve someone's day, or even selfishly to make you feel better. And ultimately, it's always going to come back in a positive way.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for giving or being kind and caring. If it's just as simple as just literally asking the barista, well, how was your day, right? Or just holding the door open for someone. They're most likely going to smile. You have that positive engagement. Selfishly, it's going to release dopamine. You're going to feel good about yourself, and it's just going to give you that little buzz and that little pep in your step. So yeah, definitely do it. Can't recommend it enough. And equally, it means that someone's going to have that positive, you know, view of you from the day, which is always nice, right?
100%. Well, we both wanted to do the segue. I'll take it, Sean.
Go on.
Well, I'm already in there now.
Such a bully.
So the next thing, obviously, hopefully, quick fire tips, absolutely smashing it. The next kind of thing we wanted to talk about was some of the biggest learnings that we've had over, and this is something that I remember every single day, and it's the story of Winston Churchill's mum, who went round to there was Disraeli, and who the other man was, it escapes me right now, and she went for dinner with these two people. One was the PM and one was the leader of the opposition, and quite often they switch positions. And she tells a story about how going into the guy that was not Disraeli, she left feeling like he was the most intelligent person in the UK. And it's a kind of this feeling because he'd probably be bigging himself up so much, talking about all these complicated topics. And then the following week, when she went to Benjamin Disraeli's house, she left feeling as though she was the most intelligent person in the UK. And it all comes down to this kind of this like, there's one thing in life that everybody wants, and that's to be valued. And I'm sure we can all think about people in our lives, people that we've come across that are always trying to convince you that they're the best, that they're the most intelligent, that they're the funniest. And it's quite often these people, we can see them as arrogant and kind of all these kind of emotions. Well, actually, some of the people that I'm closest to in life, some of the people that I find the most inspiring are the people that kind of give you that value, where they make you feel like you're the funniest or the smartest or the most intelligent person. And I think if you can give someone that value, then they're going to hold you in so much higher regard than if you kind of trying to wedge your opinion in and you're trying to make them feel this way about you. Well, actually, if you can give them that power and empower them, then that's so much more powerful.
Yeah, it's a good thing I can do both. So I'm joking. No, really, really, really good. One for me that I'm going to wedge in there, of course, in terms of biggest learnings, is understanding that you are not the sum of your thoughts. You're the sum of the thoughts you pay attention to. Okay, very self-explanatory. Sounds really easy to do, but it takes time and it takes practice. Just because I see so many people being held back by these rules, by these judgments, and by these almost like statements that their mind is telling them that they're believing, but they're not actually true, and they aren't. So like, again, it's that idea that you aren't your thoughts, right? If you can learn to take a step back from it, you can then choose how much power you want to give it, which makes you way more adaptable and gives you the power back in your life. So it's just one to really think about, and it's one that I will forever keep preaching until I see everyone starting to do it.
100%. Next one, something that I feel so passionately about, and that is learning people's names. Names and someone's name is the most important word in any person's language in the entire world. And I think it's so incredibly important. And I always kind of remember back, so this is an excerpt from How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, one of the best books I've ever read. I use it pretty much every day. And I read that book while I was traveling, and then I kind of used that learnings. I remember I was in a hostel in Thailand, in Pai Circus Hostel, for anybody who's been, the absolute heaven on earth place. And I just started learning everybody's name in this hostel and started repeating it back to them. And all of a sudden I was just being welcomed. I was being like, oh my God, here's like Dave coming in. And like, when you remember someone's name, and if you are in a group of people and you are the person that remembers everybody's names, you are instantly the most popular person in that group. And that is something that I live by to this day, something that we've spoken about, Tony. And I know that's an area that you want to improve as well, but I couldn't recommend it enough. Just putting that little bit more time and effort in. And again, if you didn't hear it right in the first instance, making sure that you can then pronounce it properly and keep referring to that name in the conversation. So unbelievably valuable.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. No, and then the third and final one we're going to do, because we're then going to go on to another three. This is seriously a heavy episode. In terms of tips, is be like a dog, right?
Absolutely. And I think this is like, you know, what do we love most about a dog? When we come home from work or when we go and see them, and how excited is a dog to see you? And how good is that feeling about when you lay eyes on dog lays eyes on you, and they're just so happy, the tail's wagging, they're jumping up on you. And I think if we can all be a little bit more dog, and when we see the people we love, when we come home from work or when we go and meet our friends or whatever, just think, be like a dog, be excitable, be happy to see someone, and instantly they're just going to be feeling, oh, I feel really good about this person. And people don't often remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And if you can be like a dog and make them feel good and empower them, then I just think that's such a good way to be.
Yeah, I love it. But if you are having days you don't feel that way, be open about it, show it. Dogs are very expressive, right? You know when they're down, you know when they're sad. So try and be that happy, energetic, enthusiastic person, right, that people want to go and see. Equally, if you are feeling down, if you are having a blue day, don't hide it. Don't build up some walls, because ultimately we know through research that it won't help you in the long term. All right.
That's a great caveat, actually. And again, like, obviously take care of yourself. Don't feel like you have to put on this facade. Be open and honest how you feel, because there are going to be some days on a normal day you can be that dog, but there are going to be some days where you're feeling down. And it's, as Tony said, it's important to be open about that as well.
Yeah. And then finally, if you remember only 3 from today, okay, number 1 is success is built on systems, not spurts.
100%. So again, we've spoke about this a lot on the podcast. You don't rise to what's the quote?
You don't rise to level your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Bosh. So that's everything that we've spoken about there. And in terms of like the minimum, what you're going to do as a minimum, how are you, what are you doing on a daily basis? What are those daily habits that are pushing you towards the goals?
Next one we've got is your environment will always be your willpower. I don't think we need to even talk about this in too much depth, right? We've said it so much in this episode, we've said it so many times before, right? But we are, okay, like creatures who like to be surrounded by other people. We are pack animals. We're not individual animals, okay? So let's not forget that. Let's utilize that. Use it to your advantage rather than use it to work against you, okay? And yeah, I don't think we want to say anything more on that.
No, environment, we've absolutely spurt to death.
Yeah.
And finally then, the best toolkit is one that you'll actually use. So and final one, the best toolkit is the one that you actually use. So anything that you can start small with and start today, that's ultimately going to be good. Obviously, we've listed off a load of things for you guys today, but there might only be 3 or 4 that are really relevant to you. There might be all 20 or all 25 points that we've spoken about today, but ultimately, these are all useless tools unless you can actually think about how you can implement them into your life. So have a think about that, consider it. What can you actually use today and get started with?
Yeah, amazing. So in this last segment, we're moving away from telling you bits, okay, and going back onto that reflective model that, of course, I'm obsessed with. So our last few questions for you to ask yourself before moving on to the powerful quote, which I think I've chosen as one of the best ones so far. But the question is, if you are hosting this podcast, what toolkit tips would you suggest to the listeners that you advocate for yourself?
That's it. So we've obviously given you a lot that we do in our personal lives and that we recommend to you guys. But obviously it's important to recognize, what do you use in your day-to-day life? And if you've maybe started slipping from those habits, what can you start to do again today to get those back in?
Yeah, amazing. Number 2, do you have systems that support success, or are you depending on willpower? Of course, that goes back to that, on that tips that we were giving a second ago, right? In that idea that, you fall to level of your systems. Okay, so keep that in mind. Don't just rely on willpower. Yes, it's amazing when you have it. It can be so powerful, but it will come and go. It ebbs and it floats. Okay, so just focus on making sure you have those systems in place you can fall back on. As I said, almost those non-negotiables that you're going to do every single day.
Perfect.
Awesome. Final one. Do you want to say it or me?
Sure. What's one... Final question.
I should have said it.
Should have said it. What's one... God. Here we go. Third and final time. What's one tool that you can start using today, no matter how small, for you, that your future self will thank you for? And again, so many that we've spoken about today. Hopefully you have at least one, hopefully as many as possible, that you can pick from, that really resonate from you, that think, I can actually start implementing that today. And how will your future self thank you for starting to do that?
Amazing. And then today's quote, just to leave you, thinking, if you haven't already got your cogs working. I am way more interested in how my life feels to me than how it looks to others. Okay. And again, obviously, in my eyes, this links down to that purpose, that deeper thing of, and that, and one of the key themes behind this podcast, which is, reducing that comparison of self and just focusing on me. I'm not looking at the extrinsic, perhaps potentially shallow goals. I'm looking at the more intrinsic, long-term goals that are going to make that big impact on my life. And ultimately, no one else might understand, but for me, I have a deep understanding of why I'm doing it.
Exactly. And in a world where everything is so, externally motivated, you're worried about what people might think of you or how this might impact this person. Ultimately, just be the person that you want to be, and then everything else will take care of itself. And if there are people that don't agree with that don't want to see that, then maybe those aren't the right people for you.
Amazing. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I think, again, another really strong episode. Obviously, we've given ourselves a list of 20 tips. Hopefully, you've taken at least 2 or 3 away from today that you can really think about. Hopefully, some of these questions give you food for thought. And just thank you so much for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Dave, anything from yourself?
If you haven't learned anything from today, or you haven't got any tips, message me or Tony.
Yeah.
We will buy your coffee for wasting your time, because I genuinely don't think there's anybody else out there that might be able to say that they haven't. So
100%. Well, thank you very much, guys, and we look forward to catching you on the next episode.
See you next time. Cheers.